Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to our show. Whether you're watching this live on the vodcast or watching the vodcast at another time, or if you're listening to the podcast, we're really, really glad that you decided to join our audience. And we appreciate each and every one of you. And we already have Chris Chrisman saying, good evening, Rob and Joan.
Good evening, Chris Chrisman.
Hello, Chris. It's good to see you. Well, you know what I mean. And Marjorie Daring says,
Marjorie.
Another Wednesday, another podcast. Yay. Hey, Marjorie, how are you doing? It's good to see you too. Okay.
Okay, so we want to remind everybody, Voice of Indie Podcast follows our show on Blog Talk Radio, Beam Weeks and Gary G's. There'll be details at the end of our show on the final closing commercial that tells you exactly how to get over to that podcast. Their guest tonight is Mike Clifton. He's been on our show.
Oh, you guys know Mike Clifton.
Yeah, he's a co-host with CJ Peterson, actually, on Book World, The Great Escape podcast. Yeah. And that's on YouTube at CJ Peterson.
Yeah.
But he's a fantasy adventure romance writer. And remind everybody about Episode Rewind. That's on at 5:30 on Saturdays, right here where you're watching right now. This week's episode is Robin Marcy Korn. From the mountains of North Carolina, I want to say. And that's Episode Rewind this Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a pre-recorded new episode, and it's really a good one. It's with Paul DeBlasi III. We finally made connections with him, and he writes visionary thrillers. We've retweeted him for years and have known him for a long time. So you don't want to miss that.
You know what? Really don't miss that show. He is so fascinating, you guys.
That's
He's
right. As a matter of fact,
a doctor of psychology.
We're going to have his daughter on,
yes.
I believe in September. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But also, I wanted to say... And
she does books about the occult, so I know you guys are going to love that. Wait a minute. We need to say hello to everybody here. Okay. Hold it on for a second.
Yeah.
Paul Hollis says, good evening, Joan and Rob. Good evening,
Hello,
Paul. Glad to see you. Joy Shelton York said, hi, Rob and Joan. Hello,
Hi,
Joy. Joy needs to be congratulated. Her son just got his doctorate from Princeton, and he has moved.
Purdue, I think.
Purdue. Sorry, was it Purdue, Joy?
Pretty sure it's
Don't
Purdue.
Want to put him in the wrong university. Anyway, he's going to be working for NASA. He's moved down there to work with NASA. And Joe Conjal says,
hi, Joe.
What? That George Dismuke
hi,
says,
George.
I made it. Hi, George. Joe Conjal said, hi, Rob and Joan. Oh, my goodness. Paul Rushworth Brown. Hi, Rob and Joan. Looking forward to our interview. We are too, Paul.
He's talking to us from the future.
Yes.
Thursday morning in Australia. So good morning, Paul.
Yeah, we're glad you can make it to the show. And Ruthie Ehrman says hello from Boulder.
Colorado.
Hey,
we're
heading to Colorado. Yeah, we'll be there in July.
First week of July.
Yeah. Yep. Going to spend a few weeks there, and we're glad that you joined the show. And Joy Shelton York says, thank you. Yes, Purdue. Yeah.
Whew. Okay, I do want to apologize for last week. I had some surgery. And it went much longer than I expected. And so we just really had to cancel and didn't get back in time. So our guest is Vidya Murladhar. And I want to thank her for her patience. She has rescheduled for August 23rd. She's a children's author. And you can check out her books if you are looking for a couple of good children's books. Vidya Writes, VIDYAWRITES.com. She's a very sweet person, and you'll really enjoy meeting her in August.
Lonnie Becca Jones says, hello, hi.
Hey, Becca.
I know It might be Lonnie too.
Yeah, Lonnie, if you're there.
If you're there. Oh, Ruthie Ehrman says, come stay at my house.
There you go.
Thanks, Ruthie. We actually have a trailer.
Yeah.
Joy Shelton York said, glad you're okay. I'm glad he's okay too.
Yeah,
I want him to show you how
okay.
big this is. Look at that's.
It was actually a bar fight, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, just kidding.
Yeah, that was.
It wasn't fun.
That was.
But my ear looks better, right? You can't even tell.
No, you can't even tell.
So
he had that reconstructed. Then they slit his throat.
Then they slit my throat. But I wouldn't pay the bill. That was it. So.
Paul Hollis said, you guys are most important to us. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, and you said that day, and we really appreciated that. Yeah. And Chris Christmas says, life happens. Self-care comes first. Yeah, I was more of a wreck than he was. No, he wasn't in great shape either. I was
pretty much a wreck. I was getting tired of being there. You know?
Marjorie Deering says, Paul's right. Thank you, Marjorie.
Right. And now the news.
Wait a minute. Oh. Chris Christmas says.
A different story for every scar.
I have a different story for every scar.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, Lord.
You should have seen the other guy. Anyway, and now for the news. Today, Paradise My Prison has been released on Vella on Amazon. You can get the first 3 chapters for free on Kindle Vella. And get this, Charlie awakens on a tropical island with no memory. Now he must survive and solve a murder and do so with nothing to use. No tools, no weapons, and no clue.
Can you see this? This is the cover.
It's a paranormal mystery. And there's mine too. Thank you, George, for these beautiful shirts. We kind of blend in with the wall. I don't
George
know.
Desnukes is the author.
Yeah. So
Joe Conjal says, now you can show off your tough guy persona. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Philip Strang, author, says,
hey,
hello,
also
Phillips.
From Australia. Happy Thursday to you too as well.
I thought I'd check in and say hello. Yeah, thank you for joining us all the way from Australia.
Yeah, Philip will be on sometime as well. He will be on.
He's looking it up,
I
folks.
will tell you shortly. I can find you.
Chris Chrisman says, love the matching shirts.
September
we
6th.
Do too.
September 6th, Philip will be on.
When we come back from our travels.
Yeah. So, you got any news?
No, I think I kind of told all my news with my show and tell with your neck.
Yeah, thank you.
You didn't want you guys to see that. Oh, hi. Connie Cleary says, hello, everyone.
Hey, Connie.
Hi,
Welcome
Connie.
back.
Welcome to the fray that we're in right here, right now.
I think that Macy is going to get tired of waiting back there.
Okay, so our author tonight is a lovely young woman. Her name is Macy Lewis. She's been blind since birth, and she is an author. She writes romance novels, which have mystery to them, and she writes children's books. And I can only tell you, I'm in awe of this young woman, and you're going to love her because she's wonderful.
Yeah. Before we bring her on, Philip, thanks for stopping anyway. Yes, stick to that writing schedule, and we'll definitely see you again. You can watch the repeat or you can watch it again on YouTube.
And Philip had said, thanks. Sorry, I can't stay today. Need to maintain my writing schedule.
Right. That's exactly what he said.
All right.
Okay.
Without further ado.
Without any ado at all, right? Hello, Macy. Welcome aboard.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. Chris Chrisman said she is impressive, speaking of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you are impressive.
Yes, for sure.
It's difficult for us who are seeing to write. So,
yes.
Paul Hollis says, welcome, Macy.
Thanks.
Though probably after all this, she's probably wondering, why did I say I would come on your show?
You guys are awesome.
She's our kind of people. I'm telling you, folks, you're going to love her.
Well, time's up. Thanks for joining us. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've only just begun.
So tell us why you started writing, how you got started writing, what possessed you to do this for a living?
Well, I've always gravitated towards writing. When I was in elementary school, I kind of I wanted to do the creative projects, and I think it was just always kind of in my DNA, and that's kind of the whole story.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I told you Paul Hollis says welcome, Macy. Connie Cleary says welcome, Macy. And author J. Creighton Smith says Macy is wonderful.
Hey, Jay, thanks for tuning in.
Ah,
I actually know him, so.
We gathered that.
Kinda
We can kind of tell when it's the author's friends or relatives that are chiming in.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jay.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, Jay. It's good to have you here. All right. So what would you like to tell us about your books? Would you like me to put up some of them?
Sure.
All right.
Start like with the first one.
I will start at the beginning.
The beginning is always a good place to start, right?
You know, that could be in a book. Wait a minute.
That could be in a book, yeah, in the beginning.
Please let me write that down.
Fevered Hearts by Macy Lewis. You want to tell us a little bit about Fevered Hearts without any spoilers?
Sure, I'll try. Fevered Hearts is about a doctor who goes on a service trip to Africa, and he helps with the Ebola epidemic. And while he's doing his service, he ends up getting captured and has to survive that incident.
Wow. That sounds great. Oh, here's Beam Weeks.
Hi,
hello,
Beam.
Rob, Joan, and Macy. Hello, Beam.
Hi.
I don't know if you heard, Beam, if you were here at the beginning of the show or not, but Macy has been blind since birth, yet continues to
Carries on.
Yep. Write books for romance novels and also children's books. And Beam is one of the people we told you about. Their show is on after ours. And
from Voice
so we'll have Macy get in touch with you, Beam. All right. Yes. All right. Our next book, as soon as I find it.
You can do it.
I know. It's in here someplace. Okay. Imprisoned Hearts. What is that about?
Does this continue the first one?
Yeah, so it's a trilogy, and they're parallel novels. They're not necessarily, you can read them out of order.
Okay.
Cool.
Don't have to be particular. This story is about a girl named Alice, and she's living in a really sad situation with her mother and her soon-to-be stepfather. It's just a mess, and she has to figure out how to get out of it. And when they get married, she's like, I'm not staying here. And this friend of her mother's is like, oh, I can help you. And she ends up going with him, but it's an even worse situation than she was already in. And she has to figure out how to get out of it. And she ultimately does. And it's very intense. It's very sad.
And the cover shows that because the cover has two hands clasped and they're shackled.
I like your covers. Who does your covers?
Oh, thank you. I have a friend. It's actually my co-author's niece who does the book covers. And I kind of just tell her the plot and then she creates it. And I don't have any say. I just you do your thing.
Okay. Well, she does a good job.
She does a good job. And then the third book, and this is the newest one, is called Weathering the Storm.
Third book is actually Shattered Hearts.
Oh, Shattered Hearts.
Oh,
we missed one.
I missed one.
Okay.
Shattered Hearts. Sorry. We'll get to Weathering the Storm in a minute, people.
It gets confusing. Even I get confused.
Shattered Hearts looks like it has a Celtic knot on it.
Yes. One of the main girl in Shattered Hearts is from Ireland.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun I put Irish or Gaelic in that book. And so that I have a thing for languages. So if I can put a language in a book, I'm all for it. That one is about our girl from Ireland. She's a paralegal and she's having to help this guy who has recently been released from prison about 3-4 years ago at this point. And she it's the old false for the convict, former convict thing. And he, meanwhile, is rebuilding his life. And he's like, oh, I've got it so good. I'm finally figuring it out. I've got my life put back together. And I'm in love. And then something, he gets diagnosed with an illness that is terminal, but you have to read the book to find out what it is.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Okay.
And you might be really upset when you read it. You might be upset with me. I was upset when I was writing it, but it's just the way it goes.
Okay. We have some comments before we go on to your last book, which I already previewed. Beam Week said, we are looking forward to hearing from her, or we'll make contact. So
cool.
That's good. Chris Chrisman says, love the covers. And Joe Conjal says, hi, Macy, I have to know, do you dictate your books to someone else, or is there another process you use when you're writing?
Oh, I love these questions. So if I dictate it, it's to my phone, and it turns out usually pretty bad, so I have to go back and fix it. As we all know, that AI just doesn't really work as well as we'd like it to.
No.
But mainly I have a screen reader that reads everything on my computer. I have an iPhone, so that has accessibility in there, so I can research on Safari and Google and do all of my research there. I also have a special website where I can get books if I need to read textbooks, because I'm majorly into research when I write my books. So I try to learn as much as I can about the topic I'm writing about. And then I just do the same as everybody else, except I'm not using a paper or a pencil. I just write it down in Word or on my phone and then fix the mess later. And then I just leave the rest up to, editors who fix the random things that happen when you're blind and you can't see what's going on with the weird fonts and the spacing and the punctuations and all that. So,
right. That's excellent. I think you have to work harder to write than a seeing person does.
Yeah,
just listening to that.
I'd say maybe a little bit, because when I first started writing, I had to learn how to write like a sighted person does. Because when you're blind, you over-describe everything because that's how my world is. So if I'm sitting here talking to you guys, I'm like, okay, I see my laptop screen. There's white. There's some colors. I can kind of tell that we're in picture side by side, but I can't tell the fine details. Everything just looks kind of like blobs. So, you have to get out of that mindset of being blind and, okay, what would you sighted people do, and how would you describe things? That's kind of an interesting shift to go back and forth.
Yeah, a different perspective. That's amazing.
We've got a couple of more comments too. Yeah. Joe Conjal says, fascinating. You are amazing, Macy.
Oh, thank you.
And Becca, and I'm pretty sure this is Becca, not Lonnie, says, wow, you are inspiring to me. Thank you for sharing. Keep writing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I did read somewhere that AI, the definition of AI, everybody's got it wrong. They think it's artificial intelligence, but it's really anti-intelligence.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's anti-intelligence.
Yeah, Becca says, yes, it is, Becca. That is really amazing. And Joe, I'm so surprised you haven't asked this already, but I'm going to ask it for you. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
Well, we talked about this in pre-show yesterday, and you know what? I have done both, but I am definitely a hybrid. I don't prefer one over the other. I think they're both great. Just depends on, I guess, the mood I'm in and what the book's about. Like for Weathering the Storm, I co-wrote it with my friend Jim King, who is an author as well, and it is 44 chapters and an epilogue, and I had to plot. I had to outline to keep everything straight. We're working on a novel, Jim and I, right now, where we've had a little bit of an outline, but we've written a lot of it just freely, and that's been fun. But we're going to have to go back to an outline to finish it up because, again, it's a long one. So I don't know. I prefer both.
Yeah. And Joe Conjal says, I was going to ask.
Yes. We can count on Joe to
ask that
yes.
every time because he likes to know. It's one of those things that authors like to know about other authors. And you know what? We've already missed our first set of commercials, so we're going to have to go back and do them now, and we'll be right back. People, don't go away. And as soon as we get to them.
Okay. And now a word from our sponsor.
Now on Kindle Vella. Paradise, My Prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Published by Fresh Ink Group, Paradise, My Prison is on Kindle Vella with 3 free episodes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes.
It's 1919. Back from the war in Europe, Eric Lasko returns to Floodwood Station, Ohio, the small coal mining town he calls home. There, he faces new foes. One poses a threat to his personal long-term relationship. The other is lurking in the adjacent Hocking Hills State Forest, a vicious, incredibly lethal beast driven by bloodlust. An 11-year-old girl and an old man have seen the creature, but no one believes the claims of a young child and a known drunk. When the first body is found, Eric, his father and brother, become suspects in his grisly death. To clear himself and his family, Eric must prove the beast exists. As the gruesome body count rises, the immigrant miners realize what's stalking their town. Every country calls it by a different name, but the creature is the same. Werewolf. Who is it? The residents reach a conclusion, but are they right?
Mystery hovers in the Magnolia Bluff Public Library. It has nothing to do with the hundreds of suspense novels on its shelves. Caroline McCluskey is the librarian. She finds a crimson hat and a black and white poodle puppy. They belong to Esther Williams. Esther is missing. The police can't find her. Neither can the FBI. Esther's only hope is a ring of 3 women investigators who form the Round Table. The Round Table has already solved one mystery in town, but this time, a woman's life is at stake. The Doggone Diamond Dilemma is now available on Amazon.
And we're back. And Joe Conjal says, love George's ad. Yeah, that's a really cool ad, really isn't it? Actually, all of those were really good ads, I thought.
George's ad was put together by Fresh Ink Group.
Yep. Meme et al. All right. And Chris Chrisman says, I love the word Paul Hollis came up with. And this is talking about what we were just talking about, Macy. I am a plotzer when writing. So that's
a combination of a
combination
and a plotzer.
Of a pantser.
Plotter.
Plotter.
A
plotzer.
It's hard to say, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
I know. You were going to read part of your new... Oh, you know what? We didn't do your newest book yet. Let me bring that up.
Because that's the one she's going to read from.
Yes, so that makes sense. This is it, Weathering the Storm, and I kind of get triggered when I look at that because it looks like a hurricane.
It does.
Is it about a hurricane?
Well, you'll have to read it and find out. There's kind of a lot of weather calamities going on around the world.
Okay.
So it's not just the good people of Florida who are suffering, it's everybody.
Well, it's only fair.
Yeah, I wrote this with Jim King, and honestly, you guys, he comes up with most of the cleverness of the book. I'm just kind of the workhorse, and he's like, "Can you write this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we had a lot of fun writing it, and we hope that people enjoy it. It is the first blind character I've written about, and the reason I did that is because I wanted to establish myself and not get caught in the niche of, oh, you're blind, so therefore you have to write about the blind community or people with disabilities, and kind of, have people think that I just write about that specifically. And so Weathering the Storm is a standalone novel. It technically could be a part of the Hidden Heart series, which is the first set of books we talked about, but it's not. So it's its own book, and we just hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Let me bring up some of these comments. Paul Hollis says Plotzer was probably a misspelling. No, it wasn't.
No.
And then he said he loves the cover on Weathering the Storm.
Oh, thank you.
And then George DeSmook said, I love the ad too. Now let's hope for a few million people like the book. Well, even a few thousand. But that's what we all aspire to, right, George? That a few million will read our books.
Why don't we just go with a few billion?
Yeah. Let's have half the planet read it.
There you go.
We could start up our own planet and just have it be Books a Lot or some kind of funky name where it's just books everywhere. Yeah. And by law, people just have to read books. Be book smart.
Hey, could call it Book Smart.
Book Smart. There you go.
So you wanted to read from?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll just show quickly because this is going to be on YouTube. Friends, what I did is, can you tell me if you can see this?
Yeah, we can sort of see it. It's Braille.
Yep,
it's Braille. And so I wrote that up this morning, trying to figure out what I should read, and I obviously made it way too long, so I'll just preface it really quickly. What's happening right now in this tiny little excerpt I'm going to read to you is our blind character has just gone into a dark room with her eyes, her seeing eye friend, we'll put it. His name is Pierre. Our blind character's name is Charmaine, so there's Charmaine and her seeing eye friend Pierre, and then they have a counterpart who is named, her alias is Golden Sun, because this book has to deal with spying as well. So I'm also going to say sometimes when I read aloud in Braille, I tend to mix up my words, so this could be really interesting.
Okay.
So, here we go. Okay, so it says, once the three of them were seated on the cold concrete floor, Rosie, that's Golden Sun, pointed her phone at the Braille writer. Okay. Charmaine turned it around and felt for the open line on the back of the Braille writer where two levers sat. The lever to the right of the line was at the end, and the left lever was sitting at the far, sorry, I gotta drop my page.
That's
left
okay.
of the line. There was a lever in the middle of the line. What are these? Rosie asked, taking Charmaine's fingers that were sitting on the Braille writer to feel the levers at the far left of the machine. These are margin levers to adjust how far the Braille can go across the paper when it's in the machine. The lever here, she said, this is Charmaine talking, touching the lever in the middle of the line, is special. Watch. In the light of Rosie's flashlight, Pierre saw Charmaine's lips open into a broad smile. She pressed the lever together and pulled the metal cover of the Braille writer open to reveal a small compartment. We can hide the key here. That is the coolest dead drop I have ever seen, Rosie said in a low voice. That's a perfect place to hide the key. She gave Charmaine's hand a squeeze, and I will stop there. So if you're intrigued, pick up the book and find out what I'm talking about.
There you go. Or
very interesting.
You could win it tonight
that's a
if you're one of the first three people, because that's the book that she's going to be giving away. So why don't we go right over to that?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how you can get in touch with her. Yes.
And then we'll talk about the children's books.
Okay. Then we'll talk about
Later,
the children's book. All right. You know what? We never did put that up.
Okay. There we go.
And we have, okay. Paul Hollis says, I'm hooked. Very intriguing.
Awesome.
Okay. If you want to reach Macy on Facebook, you need to go to author Macy Lewis, and that's AuthorMacyLewis.
Give her a friend request, and she'll be happy to have you be her friend.
Because she likes making friends.
I do.
She
We
does.
made friends in about 10 minutes or 10 seconds, actually.
Yeah. Yes. Or you can reach her on Twitter at Macy Lewis 6. Or you can email her at Macy Lou. So see, we kind of fooled you there because we changed it a little. So that's MacyLew at Comcast.net. And I'm going to leave that up because we can use that for the book giveaway.
Right. And the book giveaway, it's going to be on the ticker at the bottom there, says the first 3 people to email MacyLew at Comcast.net will win an ebook copy of Weathering the Storm.
So get typing.
So get typing, folks, and try to get yourself a free copy. And if you don't make it into the free copy thing, buy it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got to find out what happens, right?
Yeah. Well, we would like lots of people to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Chris Chrisman says, I will find you on Facebook. You are a very impressive writer. And he will, too.
You will.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's a good friend.
Yes. He's
You'll
been on
like
the show,
him.
too, Chris Christmas.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. He's an author also. And you will
Awesome.
like him. He's a lot of fun. So now you said that you and the young man that you wrote this book with are planning another book.
Yes, we are.
Can you tell us a little bit about that
I
too?
can. So we wanted to kind of do a little nod, I guess, our version of a sort of Little House on the Prairie book. Kind of, we had 2 storylines that we were working with, and they just weren't working out, and so we decided to combine them together into one story. And the book is actually called Loma, and it deals with we set it in southern Utah, and it's a really, really, really pretty down there. You guys have been down there.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Rocks and lots of nature, and we wanted to put it down there. And it's about it's a fictional Native American tribe. They're called the Malanga people.
Okay.
That is plant people in Spanish. So this book is dealing with Spanish language. And this tribe is just living down in southern Utah, where we set it. And these, English families come west from the eastern United States, and they're looking for political and religious freedom because they're tired of being told, hey, you need to go to these churches or believe in these political parties, and they've just had it. And they meet the Malanga people, and they end up settling with them and agreeing to help them protect their land, which is sacred. And they have to have an adventure because there are some neighboring, obviously fictional, Native American tribes who are upset that the Malanga people invited the English people to come live with them and live on their land. And so they're kind of warring. And so that's all I can really tell you, because we actually have not finished the first draft. Life kind of just has gotten in the way. And so we need to finish that up. And then, of course, when we send it to the editor, that could change entirely, just depending on what they want. So that's what we've got going right now, but we're really excited for that book as well. That one we sort of plotted, but we also just pantsed as well. We did free writing a lot of it, and so that was really fun to take in that direction.
Do you have a potential time that you might be completing?
No, not really.
No, that's still early.
I would just say, honestly, to all the people out there, if you were interested, just follow my social media.
You'll keep them posted, right?
Jim's not really on social media, so just keep in touch with me and you won't miss a thing. I'll be sure to tell you guys what's going on.
There you go.
So Joe Conjal has a question. He says, are your books available in braille or audiobook formats?
Good question. Right now, they are only available in online or hard, electronic or hard copy formats. Braille is pretty expensive if you were to print them in braille. There are places I could put them. I just haven't done that yet. Not on audio either. Just go to your favorite online bookstore and purchase them there.
Amazon?
Amazon. Yeah. Everywhere, pretty much, you can find the books.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent. But that was a good question. Audiobooks sell really well,
Good to know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, ours sell better on audio than they do in print.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think, other authors we've talked to have said the same thing. So I think because people like to listen to it on their way to work and stuff like that. I know some people that like to listen to it while they're working.
Yes.
I couldn't do that. I have to be focused on, unless it's just music and I'm writing, then I can zone out. But I like to listen to my books.
Yeah.
Without any distractions.
Not paying attention to your work.
Yeah.
Who wants to do that?
I have to do my job while I'm trying to listen to this story.
Or try and end up writing down something that you heard in the book and your boss is like, why are you writing this? This has nothing to do with what you're... Oh, sorry, I read that. I heard that in a book.
Yeah. Well, I'm really interested in the one about Ireland because, that's my people. That's our people, actually.
Our people. Yeah.
Yeah, Shattered Hearts. Does that take place in Ireland? I don't remember.
It takes place in, so let's see, Fevered Hearts, Imprisoned Hearts, and Shattered Hearts all take place in England. Weathering the Storm takes place in England and Paris. I have a thing for Europe. And then Loma obviously is going to be taking place in the United States because my aunt and uncle well, my aunt reads basically everything I write. And she, at this point of reading Weathering the Storm, said, can you please write a book that's based in the States for us? Try and do something for you.
Sure.
And the next book, too, will be in the States. It'll be Southern Utah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And that is beautiful there. I mean, it's so beautiful. Zion is amazing, and Bryce is amazing also. But just the whole place is beautiful. And we saw houses built. They have these huge towering red cliffs, that rise up out of the plains, and the homes are built right into the side of the cliffs. I mean, it's really
right into the mesa. Is it? I guess mesas.
Yeah, it's like amazing, just really gorgeous. Okay, let's do your kids' books now.
Let's take our break first.
Sorry,
and then we'll come back.
We're gonna have to have another word from our sponsors.
We gotta get the word out here. So hang on another few minutes. Nobody go away.
Back.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
First, there was Siren Song. then Siren Song 2. Now comes The Siren Hunter, a continuing saga about Angie Holland and her never-ending battle with the mythological denizens that are not even supposed to exist. Is The Siren Hunter a conclusion to the undersea horror? Only the sirens know for sure.
The Siren Hunter, now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Or contact this podcast. The trilogy is complete.
People Who Like to Read Want to Get Their Hands on Books by Becca Jones.
Becca Jones, the breakthrough author who tells it like it is. It takes courage to tell a story when it reveals dark secrets. Becca Jones delves deep into the hidden world of sexual abuse. She tells what happened and also tells how she survived.
Meant to Be is much more than just entertaining. Meant to Be gives you a point of reference, hope to cling to, and becomes a guide for survival if you have suffered the same thing. Meant to Be, Becca Jones, a must-have.
Meant to Be is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites.
And we're back.
We're back.
And we have some comments. Connie Clary said, I've already submitted, Macy.
I just saw your email during the break. Thank you.
And Chris Chrisman said, Mesa Verde, the cliff dwellings are impressive. I actually have been there and put them in my second book. Yeah, but Chris, I was talking about modern homes are built into the side of the cliff on the bottom of the valley.
But yes, the cliff dwellings are totally amazing.
Crazy too.
For sure.
And also, before I forget, and I meant to mention this at the beginning, don't forget that we have the Paranormal Podcast on tomorrow night at 7:30. And that was part of the news, and you forgot to mention that. But I did want to say because we were supposed to do it about haunted pets and cryptids. That's how people voted. But the cryptids ended up to be taking up so much time. We'll do haunted pets another time.
Those pesky cryptids.
Yeah. So if you have stories about your haunted pets, about pets haunting, don't worry, we'll get to that. And if you have stories about cryptids, if you've ever seen a cryptid or whatever, tune in and tell us your story for sure, please. I've never seen a cryptid, any of them. I'd like to. And then Chris Crispin goes, oh, the new homes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I think Connie followed you on Facebook too.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yep.
Great.
Thanks, Connie.
Awesome. She says, welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Now let's get back to your books here. And I will find them in a second. Here they are. Oh, we have another comment. Joe Conjal said, tomorrow's show should be fun. Yeah, well, Joe, I'll tell you what. Jessie did the research on Jess, I guess she puts her name. She's my daughter. I call her Jessie. Did the research on the cryptids. So it's going to be thorough. That much you know, right? Okay, back to these books. Okay, the first one is Nigel and the Festival of Flames. And is this a little dragon holding up a flag?
Yes, Nigel's adorable.
Yeah, he is pretty cute. He's my favorite color.
He's so cute. And you know what's funny? It's my illustrator for that book. I use a lot of different illustrators for the children's books. Her name is Miara Min Farnsworth. And I actually told her, I was like, for some reason, I just want Nigel to be blue like the sky. That's all I told her. I was like, you can figure out the rest, because I wanted the kingdom where he lives is called Rhetoric. It's a fictional kingdom. It's near Scotland. And she hand painted all of those drawings that you guys see in the book. The cover, everything is beautiful.
Wow.
But yeah, Nigel is so cute. That book rhymes. So the best compliments I get from it are my friends who will text me, or their kids will tell me, I've read it 18 times and I'm starting to memorize it.
Oh,
and that's so Nigel, he's participating in the Festival of Flames, which is the Dragon Olympics. And he doesn't think he can do everything that everybody else can because he's smaller than they are. So he goes away when everybody's kind of playing around, and he feels sad. And then he meets the princess, Raquella, and she encourages him to try again and teaches him that he can throw his flames high in the sky. And then he goes back to the Festival of Flames, and you have to read it to see if he can do it.
That's awesome, because, you know, not just children, but adults too, we often think, oh, I can't do it, or I'm not as good as everybody else. And that's wonderful that you've written a children's book that's going to encourage children. You know, they can do it. And everybody just needs a friend that's going to.
From the writing perspective, do you find it more difficult to do? Which one do you find more difficult to do, the children's or your other genre?
The romance.
That's a good question. I honestly, I think it's in some ways the children's books, because you have a limited amount of pages where you can captivate a kid, and you have to make it really fun and lively, and because if they're not interested, they won't read it. And so it's kind of, there's a lot of pressure to get it right. But the novels, I will say on the flip side, the novels are fun because I'm able to research something to my heart's content and go dive in really deep. So it's fun.
Okay, we have quite a few comments here. Connie Clary says, you're an amazing young lady. I agree. I told you.
Thank you. Thanks, Connie.
And Joe Conjal says that Nigel is actually almost Tar Heels blue.
Well, there you go. I don't know colors very well for obvious reasons. I have a little bit of a blind eye, slight eye condition, so I'm doing my best.
Joyce Shelton York says that that's a wonderful concept for that story. I think so too. And then Marjorie Deering has a question. She says, which came first, Macy, your children's books or your novels? And do you enjoy writing one more than the other?
Well, that's a good question. The novels came first, and then the children's book, Nigel's story, kind of came when I was finishing up the novel, Fevered Hearts, actually, the first novel. And then they just kind of come in succession. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just kind of the ideas that come into my mind, and I write them down and do something with them when inspiration strikes. I would say they both have their set place in my heart. I don't find one easier or one more fun or interesting to write. They're all special in their own unique way.
It's interesting because I've tried writing a children's book, and you would think with 6 kids and 14 grandchildren, I would be good at that, but I find it very challenging. So kudos to you, because I think they're difficult to write.
Thank you.
Joe Conjal says, have you ever considered writing a murder mystery?
I definitely have, and Jim King and I kind of have that in. We're kind of putting some notes together because that's our third book that we want to co-write together. But yeah, I'm definitely on board for a murder mystery. I just have to figure out the right idea. That's the hardest part.
Then that's the research that you have to worry about, the FBI coming after you or something.
Yeah.
Looking up all these
these
ways
weird,
to kill people and stuff.
Yes.
How can I do this? And then let's talk a little bit about your second children's book, which is Octie, Octopus, and the Ocean Adventure. And that's a really cool cover too, with the little octopus and the mermaid.
Yes. So that one was done by Emily Crandall. And I think she did a lot of that digital art. And so this book is about Octie Octopus and his friend Millie Mermaid. They're in Octie's den, and he wants to learn more about the sea creatures in the ocean, but he can't swim as far as a lot of other people sea creatures can. So Millie has a little seashell in her hair that's magical, and she's able to draw on the wall of his den, and then the pictures of the animals that Octie wants to see come to life. And then Octie and Millie can swim into the pictures, and then they can talk to the animals. And so there's a story, but on these pictures there are facts about each animal. So they meet a seahorse, a walrus, oh my goodness, it's been a while since I've read it. I think a whale, and then oilfish, and all these different kinds of animals. And I worked with my local aquarium to get the information because I just don't want to trust the internet. And so that's been really fun to work with some local businesses in my community for these educational books that I'm writing as well. So
that's pretty
and
cool.
Actually that's what the cover is an octopus with Millie, and she's drawing on his wall.
Yeah.
So
that's a great idea to make it educational.
Yes.
At the same time.
Mm-hmm. And Chris Chrisman said, I have heard writing children's books are very hard. And I think it is.
It's a challenge. I have to work with, when I get an idea for something, and I'll try and flesh it out as much as I can, but then I will ask, a lot of times I'll ask my older sister who has kids, and I'll say, does this sound interesting? And she'll read it and she'll be like, I think they might enjoy that, or no, let's keep working on this. And so she comes up with a lot of creative ideas that I'll use.
Well, good that she's honest with you. That's really good.
That's what we need. We don't need people sugarcoating and being like, oh, it's great, and really it's not.
Absolutely right. You are so right. That's why you need good, honest beta readers to read your stuff and say, why did you say that?
Exactly. Fix this. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Rob and I both come from Irish backgrounds, and so one of our main characters in our murder mystery series is named Siobhan, because I was raised Irish Catholic in Boston, and that's a very common name there. But the beta readers were like, I don't even know how to pronounce that or what it means. Is it Swedish? And I'm like, Swedish.
Swedish.
So I had to put in all of our books. Siobhan is an Irish name, and this is how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Like an IKEA product.
Yes. And Chris Chrisman says, yes, honest beta readers are the key to a good book. Yeah, because they'll tell you why, like, that doesn't make sense, or I get confused this part. So then you can fix it. And the third children's book is Nina Nebula Space Adventures. Nina Nebula and the Space Adventure.
Which is totally different than the other two.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this story has an interesting evolution. It's actually a story that I wrote back in junior high. So I was 14, 15 at the time, maybe. And it did have Nina and her space historian Jacques. They are both astronomers up in space. And the first story that I had written, obviously, back when I was a kid was very long and it had way too much. So I had to chop it up. And that's when I was like, we'll just have Nina Nebula and her space adventure, or her space historian, rather, get a little SOS call from a little alien who is Zeppi 1416, and he is sent by his planet, Plink 15, to go explore our solar system, and he gets lost. And so Nina and Jacques have to go out and find him, and when they do, they take him around to meet the sun and the moon and the 8 planets, and the planets talk. And so there's a whole story. And then around the picture again, you can see illustrations, the facts about the planets and the sun and the moon. And so it's another educational book. This book was done by an illustrator named Emily Bolander. I think she did it digitally as well. And so it's pretty cute.
It's very cute.
If I do say so myself. I don't really know what it looks like, but I've heard it's very cute.
It's cute.
Friends out there, you can laugh. It's okay. Blind jokes are a thing. So.
Yes, we are not laughing at her, people. We are laughing with her.
Yep.
Joe Conchel says, I think children's books are hard because they have to please the kids and the parents.
And the parents,
yeah.
That's the other aspect, yeah.
And also, though, you're trying to get a whole storyline, and usually you want to get in like a morality lesson or something like that, or teach them something like you just said about your second two books. You're trying to give them some information and make it palatable and fun. And I found that really, really difficult.
It's tough. I always try to bring in whatever friends or side characters I put in these books. I always want kids, I guess the moral of the story is not only are they educational, but the main thing is to be friends.
Yes.
Because everything's so divisive right now. I feel like the one thing I can just kind of push is we all are different. We all look different. None of us are the same. And that's what's awesome about the world. And so that's kind of my thing is no matter who you meet, you can always be friends with them. We don't look the same. We don't have to believe or agree on anything really, but as long as you have respect and kindness and love, that's what matters.
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah, totally.
And we have a plethora of friends who look different, act different, and have different belief systems, and that's okay. And it's interesting to learn about their belief systems. Because there's interesting stuff there. I noticed that here you said that you had to kind of chop it up, and this says book 1. So are you planning on writing further adventures of Nina?
Yeah, so all of the children's books are going to at least have 2 books in them.
Oh.
There could be more. It just depends. I thought we'll start off with 2 for now and see. They're definitely at least for me right now, the kids' books are definitely the high sellers. So, because I have all my friends, well, the majority of my friends have kids, and so they're loving those so much.
Awesome.
That's great.
So Chris Christman says we're all just people. Yeah, and I think when you get down to it, we all want the same things,
I agree.
And doesn't matter what we look like or where we come from or what we believe. And Marjorie Deering said, sameness is boring. Yeah, that would be pretty boring if we were And if we were all like me, nobody else would get a chance to talk. That would be very bad.
You mean I can talk?
You mean like our family? Like when our family gets together.
Like when our family
no
gets
one
together.
can talk. Everyone has to get it
true.
in there really, really fast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Those of you that have watched the show and seen, well, Trisha gets very quiet on the show, but Jess doesn't. She can talk. She doesn't mind talking.
Doesn't mind a bit. So let's remind everybody where to reach Macy. On Facebook, you can friend her on author Macy Lewis. And on Twitter, it's at Macy Lewis 6. And if you just want to, shake her hand and say hello, send her an email at macylou@comcast.net.
Yep.
And don't forget to enter the book giveaway.
Don't forget
That's right.
At that email address.
And we have another comment. Let me bring this up. Okay, George Dismuke says, I very much admire anybody who is challenged in any way, then succeeds. Jose Feliciano was a good friend of mine when I lived in Laredo. Really?
Wow.
I know that, George, because, and I know that Macy does too, love his music. He was amazing. I've seen him in concert, but which was
so we'll have to chat about him.
Yeah.
And see what he was really like.
Yeah. I hope he was as nice as he seemed to be.
Seemed to be.
Yes, and he was not sighted. He was also blind.
Right.
Didn't stop him. He taught himself how to play the guitar. I mean, that's amazing that he could play the guitar like he did, and he could sing well too.
Right.
But, his voice was okay.
Well, before
Joe Conchel says George knows all the famous people.
He does.
He absolutely does.
George is famous.
George is famous, and he's,
done amazing things.
Been a screenwriter on television shows and knew the Duke John Wayne, and
very cool.
George Dismuke says he was a very cool guy, very caring. He came off that way. He seemed to be a very caring person.
So Macy, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's hasn't gotten up the courage to start writing, but would really like to write? Any advice for them?
My advice is to just write down your ideas, and when inspiration occurs, just quickly write it down. And because basically what happened to me was really quickly, I just had all these ideas, and I started writing a sappy novel in high school. When I read it back, I just laugh, and I'm just like, whoa, that was really bad, but it was good. And then when I went into college, I just had all these ideas, and so I wrote them down in a little file on my computer and just left it alone. And then when I graduated from college, and my degree's in history, so I did a lot of research there. It just kind of, when the Ebola epidemic occurred, I was kind of like, man, if I could write a story about that, that would be really interesting to research. And that's where Fevered Hearts came from. And then it was like this floodgates opened, and everything just snowballed. And so honestly, I would just say, just write stuff down. And I mean, I think all of the writers who are fans of the show, and of course, Rob and Joan, you guys know that it's a train wreck and it looks really bad, and that's just how it is, but it turns out okay. So start writing.
Well, I think that's true about anything, like building, building anything. You start out with a mess, and then when it's finished, you've got something good, So.
Yeah, and you do need to just keep rewriting until it sounds the way you want it to sound.
Exactly.
And it gets across what you've been trying to get across.
Right.
And it doesn't always come out right the first time. You don't just sit down and write the book.
Right.
No way. I wish you guys could see how many drafts of things I have on my computer. There's just tons. Tons of stuff where I'm like, why did I do this? I need to fix that.
There you go. There you go.
Believe me, we all understand.
I think so.
We get it. All right.
Well, this has been great. Macy, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it, and look forward to hearing more as your new books come out.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Let's see, we do have another comment here. Joe says, this was a very interesting hour. Thank you, Macy, and of course, Rob and Joan, for another great show.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Paul says, thank you, Joan, Rob, and Macy. Another fantastic show.
Thank you,
thank
everybody,
you, Paul,
for tuning in.
We're going to move Macy over to the side.
Move you over to the side.
We're going to do our closing things, and don't go away, Macy. We'll get back to you.
Wait till we get back to you. Want to remind everybody to join us next Wednesday, pre-recorded episode with Paul de Blasi III. And that's really a good episode, if I do say so myself.
It really is, because he's a psychologist. He has his PhD. He is a working therapist, and he's put things into books that are just, you guys, it's so good, and does it in an entertaining way. I mean, I could have listened to him talk for another hour.
Yeah, for sure. We enjoyed that a lot.
Marjorie Deering said, thanks all. Thank you, Marjorie.
You're welcome.
And Joy says, thank you, Rob, Joan, and Macy. Yeah, it's okay.
So
I said her son was from Princeton.
The AI anti-intelligent thing was working.
Chris Christmas says, thanks for another great show. Thank you, Macy, for being here tonight.
Yes. I'm going to talk a little bit just for a second about June. June, we're going to be taking off at the end of June, actually the 23rd. We're heading out to Texas. We've got 3 really good shows coming up, the 7th, the 14th, and 21st. We've got Regina Knoll Downing on the 7th. We have Terry M. Brown again on the show on the 14th. And on the 21st, we're going to have live Paul Rushworth Brown from Australia. He'll be sharing his Thursday morning with us there. And then on the 28th, we're going to be live from San Leon, Texas.
That'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
George will be there with us. Maybe Becca. Maybe we can talk Becca
will be there too.
And some other authors.
And then on the 5th of July, we're going to be live from Fort Worth, Texas, with Caleb and Linda Pirtle.
Yeah, we're going to be broadcasting from their house.
Brickfield and Berkey, hopefully, as well.
Hope so.
And then we're going to have some episodes that are going to be from the vault, some older episodes that we're going to play until we get back. And then we'll be back August 16th for a live show. So.
And July 3rd, we're going to be investigating, and Beth and Les are going to fly in from Tampa and meet us in Texas, and we're going to be investigating Hill House, which is an infamously haunted house. Look it up, and when you do, don't tell me any of the details, because I like to go in there not knowing what's happening, so that my mind doesn't make up stuff and that I just hear and see what actually I'm hearing and seeing. Right. And I think we will be able to broadcast that live. I think we'll be able to live stream that. They said they have a studio there, so we should be able. And Paul Hollis says, good summer shows coming up. They are really some fascinating people.
And tomorrow night, Tampa Bay Spirits, the Haunted Campfire Tales, episode 5. Join us for that live. And you can watch pretty much right where you're watching right now. Yep. And if you have trouble finding it, shoot us an email, carternovels@aol.com, and we can steer you on or look at our pinned posts on Facebook. Yeah. Anyway, I think that kind of does it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Pretty much?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then. How about, got one more thing to do here.
Okay.
All right. Until next time.
That's all, folks.
Night.
Good night.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.